just making sure that everyone can see me. Huh, there's this strange effect I'm trying to get rid of, but that's causing me to lag. But here I am, regardless. Yeah, here I am. Okay, let me get right to it. Good night, everybody. And so I wanted to start with some of the words that I hear leaders say, right? Dr. Tamu, I feel misaligned, overwhelmed, cognitive overload, uh, many meetings, but no momentum, lonely, betrayed. These are some of the phrases that I hear and that leaders express to me when we are discussing leadership and when we are moving through my rear framework. Yeah. And so I wanted to talk about what leadership can do to self and really look at, are we really ourselves or are we an avatar? So leadership becomes performance rather than authentic practice. So that's the first segment of the conversation that we are having tonight. Now, let's look at what is authentic leadership and is it possible? The question really is authentic leadership possible when you have multi stakeholder environments, perhaps multi jurisdiction environments, which means you have even more stakeholders that you have to engage with? And you begin to wonder, how authentic can you be if you have to engage all of these stakeholders? Now, remember, if you do have questions or comments, you can share them. Yes, I can see them here if you do share a comment or a question, right? So, what is authentic leadership? How authentic can you be? How do you move from performance to transformational practice? These are some of the questions that leaders have. And the truth is that uh, you have to be able to focus on the idea that the practice that you engage in is as authentic as your strategy requires. Because the entire goal of leading and transformational leadership is really to create strategy that allows you to achieve the goals of the organization and the vision that you have for transformation. And it is difficult for persons to understand the level of authenticity. The truth, though, is that authentic conversation, authentic dialogue will be essential for strategic achievement. And the depth of that authenticity will be determined by your goals or KPIs at the time. And perhaps we become confused because we wonder, or maybe we are unsure as to what authentic actually means. Authentic does not necessarily mean that you share how you feel at every moment, at every time. You share your vulnerabilities on stage at all times. Authenticity is measured and is suitable for the strategy or plan that you have. Now, let's talk about why the Rear Leadership Framework, my proprietary Rear Transformational Leadership Framework, is different. It's different because I focus in this framework on leadership being a solo endeavor, as in only endeavor, singular, while most traditional leadership engagements, frameworks, practices, they focus a lot on followership. But the truth is that leadership is a soul, as in SOLE, and soul, as in SUL, endeavor. And I always begin with that. And it is the grounding in this idea of leadership being a soul sport that requires introspection first before we can even discuss anything about followership. Now, I know that in your life and in growing up, as we would say, that you would have heard that, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And though this might sound demeaning, it's not about being demeaning. It's really just, sharing that as people grow into their habits, it's difficult to change them or have them change their habits. Similarly, when you are engaging in transformational leadership, it's difficult for people to change. We don't have to go into a lecture about resistance to change and change management tactics. The truth is that the only person that is required to change first in the REAR framework is the change of self. And so the REAR framework, my REAR framework, really delves into vision casting and the type of CEO leader that you need to be to achieve your strategy, to achieve your vision. And so leadership is really a solo endeavor before we even begin discussing anything, any element of followership and what that means. And then when we look at um, A, which is my agile articulation, we really begin to visit the idea of what is articulation. And for many of us, articulation starts and stops with the meeting, right? The email, the memo, the minute. And that might be the lowest form of articulation for someone who is a strategist. And the art of agile articulation, agile articulation across stakeholder groups, etc., individuals, the vision. Now, sometimes, particularly in our island states,